This segment extends our module on how to deconstruct and evaluate websites and deals more specifically with online scams and hoaxes and how to determine what is authentic, reliable, and legitimate. Before you go any further, take a moment to watch the YouTube clip on liquid mountaineering. Pay attention to how the creators of the video made the video seem authentic. After the liquid mountaineering video went viral and was featured very heavily in the media, the company Hi-Tech revealed that they were behind the liquid mountaineering video. Go to the link on the slide and find out why the company went to these lengths to create the video. Select at least 2 of the websites on the slide. Apply the strategies you have learned in Module 5.1 to determine the legitimacy of each site. Remember, authority, accuracy, objectivity, currency, and coverage. Be sure to make notes on your work so that you can share your findings and discuss them with your classmates. Although some people create fake websites as hoaxes for fun, to teach critical thinking skills, or for profit, others have more malicious intent. While being critical of a particular group isn't necessarily hate, many hate groups and hate mongers try to pass off what they're doing as legitimate arguments. The key difference is that while they may use a reasonable tone and do a variety of things to look legitimate, their arguments are based on ideologies of hate. The phenomena of cloaked hate sites and reasonable racism mean that it may often be difficult for us to recognize hate sites when we encounter them. What distinguishes genuine hate groups from sites engaged in legitimate political debate is the presence of a particular worldview and beliefs that might be termed an ideology of hate. A founding myth or story that the group perpetuates to define its identity, to establish a dehumanized other who threatens that identity, and to justify and encourage violence in defense of the identity. Ideologies of hate share a number of characteristics. Number 1, the other. Fundamental to all ideologies of hate is the idea of a target group, or multiple groups, designated as other. It is not, however, the actual group as it exists in reality, but a fiction created to solidify the identity of the hate group and justify its existence and its actions. To achieve this, the other must be portrayed as being both inferior, to establish the hate group's superiority, and threatening, to establish the need to take action against them. Most hate groups are fairly careful to steer clear of infringing laws against hate speech, which means that they do not openly advocate violence towards their targets online. Instead, they present distorted histories and interpretations of current events to implicitly suggest that violence is necessary to preserve the status and purity of the group. Number 2, the glorious past. Another essential element of hate ideology is the notion that the group has fallen from its once glorious past. Generally, this fall is portrayed as being the fault of either the other or members of the group who were fooled or subverted by the other. As a result, it is only by defeating and destroying the other that this glorious past can be regained. Hate group members must be educated about this glorious past because its enemies have done their best to erase this from history. This is why white supremacist groups are so concerned about initiatives that introduce multicultural elements into history classes, and why skinheads see Black History Month as a recruiting opportunity. Number 3, victimhood. Despite portraying the other as being inherently inferior, claiming to be victims themselves, and rejecting the idea of the other as a victim, is central to ideologies of hate. For instance, a widely reprinted article by David Duke, a former Grand Wizard of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, claims that whites were the true victims of slavery. As well as eliminating any possible sympathy for the enemy, victimhood is tremendously effective in appealing to those who are most vulnerable to hate messages. Note the statement on the homepage of Stormfront.org, the first white supremacist website, justifying their existence. We are a community of white nationalists. There are thousands of organizations promoting the interest, values, and heritage of non-whites. We promote ours. Number 4, divine or natural sanction. A related idea is that the in-group is superior due to divine or natural sanction. Racially motivated hate groups often use outdated or distorted genetic or anthropological theories to argue their superiority, while others claim that their special status is granted by God. In either case, the claim serves to deny the humanity of those considered to be other and justify the in-group's hatred. These are hate sites which present their contact as political provocation or debate, relying on pseudoscience and twisted logic rather than outright expressions of hate. The classic example of this is the Stormfront website, which, in comparison to other white supremacist hate sites, uses discourse that appears less injurious and blatantly hateful in order to appear more innocuous to naive readers. According to Jeff Gagnon, media education specialist with MediaSmarts, an assessment of online messages put out by hate groups suggests that a variety of techniques work together to reinforce hate group identity, reduce external threats, and recruit new members. Gagnon identifies 13 propaganda techniques or characteristics that hate sites employ. He points out that not all of these techniques are meant to recruit people, but rather to move them along the different stages of radicalization. Some are intended to build general support, some to turn casual supporters into active members, and some to push members towards taking concrete action. Go to the MediaSmarts link on the slide and download the PDF. Although this is a lesson written for grade 10 to 12 students, we are going to focus on pages 49 to 50 of the document, which lists the 13 and explains the propaganda techniques found on the slide. You will want to have this list in front of you for the next slide. Using the MediaSmarts list of propaganda techniques, explore the 4 websites that are linked on the slide and identify which of the techniques are being used by the site authors. Be prepared to share your observations with your colleagues in the online discussion and/or tutorial session for this week. Teachers need to use sensitivity when engaging students in debate about issues they may have a very strong opinion about. One way to get them thinking critically about the issues is to have them read multiple viewpoints on a topic. One way to do this would be to have students collect editorials and letters to the editor in 1 or more newspapers on a controversial issue that touches on diversity. Some examples are illegal immigration, religion in schools, multicultural education, accommodating minority groups. To find these, You or your students may look through printed newspapers, use online newspapers, and own search functions or do specific search with a search engine such as Google. This can be done by following your search term with site and the newspaper's web address. For example, immigration site www.theglobeandmail.ca. Depending on the group you are teaching, you may want to restrict the students to published editorials and letters to the editor and not have students read online comments, as these are frequently unmoderated and can be inflammatory. For links to newspapers online, see http://www.onlinenewspapers.com. Have students select one or more editorials or letters to the editor and write a short paragraph explaining whether it is an example of legitimate political argument or whether it relies on ideologies of hate. Alternatively, you may have students read a selection of letters and editorials and have them identify whether the debate overall is relying on legitimate arguments or on ideologies of hate. This is one example of how you might approach this topic with students. Can you think of other activities or assignments?